Hey, everybody, and welcome back. This is our Saturday show. I am actually on the other side of the mountain. I'm in Eastern Washington, attempting to do some fishing. However, it is super, super windy. And the last couple of days, it's been a wee bit toasty as it's hit 98, almost 100. And, the fish, they don't really much care for that. They'll stay at the bottom. So, if we take a look at kind of what's going on, make sure let's add this in. Hang on a second here. There we go. Now I am on my laptop here, so forgive me as I I try to navigate things that are a little bit different. Hey, so with this, make sure you subscribe. Okay, it lets us know and helps the algorithm out for others to be able to get some really great information. All right, and because there's no marketing, because there's nothing that is here that would affect you working with some agent out there. Again, it's just to get you guys the best information possible. So when we talk about being a tad bit windy and whatnot, well, here we go. You can clearly see that the lake is so busy and in fact has some crazy whitecaps out there that it doesn't make sense to head out at this early hour. So anyway, I guess I'll let the others sleep and we'll do our thing. So in other words, we'll just do our video. All right, so let's take a look at what's been going on here just over the average of the last 7 days. So you can see we've got 1,163 new on market homes, but we also have 1,351 that actually have gone off market. So when we look at our inventory levels, and there's a lot of information that is going on in the I would say the realm of media. There's a lot of noise. You've been hearing really since about January that the sky's falling, right? Mayhem is going to be happening. The real estate market is ended as it's going to. And really, at the end of the day, it's, in my humble opinion, at least in our area, that's just a lot of sensationalism. And if you, again, just watch each and every week as you watch the metrics. Now, granted, our metrics are residential only. We're not pulling in multifamily. We're not pulling in condos. We're not pulling in vacant land. We're not pulling in manufactured homes. We're going to take a look at residential only. It is our constant. If you want the other reports, hey, just let us know. We'll go ahead and send them off to you. If you want, the foreclosure reports that we work on for many of the lenders, hey, you know what? Let us know. We'll forward it off to you. Simple enough. But here's the thing. You can see, and since the middle of October, and in fact, in my channel, go back and look at the middle of October, where we start talking about that there are more pending sales than homes coming on market. So we've been drawing down this inventory. In fact, today's charts, part because, well, I didn't have access to my Trend Graphics account, but second, because it's going to give you a completely, well, I shouldn't say completely different, it's going to give you a slightly different way of looking at the information, which I think is going to be super helpful. So when we take a look at the number of months of inventory, now this is super important, right? Let me blow this up. Okay, so you can see that we have 1.7 months of inventory. And, when you take a look at this chart and you say, okay, George, what does that mean? Okay, in the simplest term, if I have a bucket and all of the real estate agents put their listings in this bucket, and we're going to call this bucket the Northwest MLS, okay? I put a lid on it. Technically, for a balanced market, right, I should have 4 to 6 months of inventory in that bucket. Now, right now, we have 1.7 months of inventory. So anytime our inventory drops below that 4-month mark, it becomes and tends to lean towards a seller's market. Simple enough. Less inventory, that tends to lean towards a seller because there's still a pent-up buyer demand. Now, the inverse of that is if we have 6 months or more, that tends to lean towards a buyer's market, meaning there's a plethora, there's a lot of homes for a buyer to work with. And that is not the case here. And in fact, funny enough, contrary to a lot of people's belief, we actually are still in a seller's market because we still have a massive pent-up demand. We are still seeing homes going off market. That is very clear. When we come back and we look at this chart right here, again, we have more homes going pended than are coming on market. And that is super important for both buyers and sellers to understand, and especially those sellers that are on strike, as last week's video said, because they want to give up that 3%, 3.5% mortgage that they have. And in fact, funny enough, when you take a look at the number of loans, homeowners that have loans, I want to say it's 72%. I know that it's in the 60s for people that are, in the threes and lower. And I believe it's 72% if they're in the fours and lower. Okay. And that is a significant population. And when you hear a lot about, oh, we're in a financial crisis, oh, real estate's in trouble. Okay. Understand that's not necessarily the residential side of things. It definitely will impact and does impact the commercial side. The commercial side, unlike the residential side, they have completely different lending guidelines. And like a single family home, you can get a 30-year mortgage and it's averaged out 30 years. It's amortization. Okay. You from 0 to 30 years. Now, commercial is different. You see, they actually can only get a mortgage for up to like 5 years, sometimes 7, occasionally 10, but your interest rate goes up because it's greater risk. Plus, they don't do 30-year amortizations. They'll do a 20-year, a 22-year, 25-year amortization. The banks get paid more up front. So it's a greater cost for that. So not only do you have to refinance more often, but your interest rates are also subject to that. Now, if we take a look at, just a little over a year ago, feds were lending, and this is where the feds come in, not based on, feds don't control mortgage rates. Okay. Real estate, residential mortgage rates, that's controlled on the internet, mortgage-backed securities. Watch your 10-year treasuries, watch your bond rates. Okay. On the Fed side for commercial lending, which also affects your car loans, which affects your credit cards. Many of you, if you have a credit card balance, you've noticed you've had between a 5 and probably a 10% swing in interest rate cost. That's why, because the feds control that. They control what banks lend to each other on a daily basis. That's what the feds control. So feds control commercial. So when you go from a negative 1.5%, and that's when people say, oh, I need to buy, it's time to buy a house, feds, they're negative 1.5%, had nothing to do with it, regardless of how many times we try to explain it. But when you take that and then you increase that to about a 7%, okay, well, that's a massive difference because they take prime, okay, which is a Fed rate, and right now I believe it's around 4.5. You take your prime, and then you add the bank's profit point, and that's going to be between 1.5 to 3 points. Okay, points is 1%. So if it's 4.5 and they add 3 points, well, that's 7.5%. There you go. And that's when you take a look at that, then a lot of the commercial loans that are out there that are coming due, which is about $1 trillion, which is, well, that classifies in the bucket of a buttload of loans. That's where the commercial industry is going to be running into some trouble. Now, understand that's a lot to absorb. It's not like the billions of dollars during the 2008 recession and financial meltdown that started in 2007. The commercial side is completely different, right? Because then you'll have like some of these REITs or these hedge funds that they have what's called a non-recourse, and they'll just walk away from a loan, boop, and leave the bank holding this commercial property that they are not designed to have. And then there's requirements that they have to start charging things off, which puts them in a negative balance sheet, which is what has happened to some of the commercial banks that we've seen on the news. Now, with that being said, let's move on and do not wish to digress anymore, but to differentiate what's going on, because there are some folks talking about a negative real estate market. It is more on the CRE, the commercial real estate side of the world, not residential. All right, enough said. Get off my soapbox. All right, so we talked about months of inventory. Now let's take a look at this. Okay, when we take a look at the actual listings that are coming on market, you can see that we're down 24.5%. In fact, when you look at the year 2022, you can see that as we headed into we headed into a more higher interest rate type of situation. Sellers started pulling back, buyers started pulling back a little bit, but not a ton, because there was still a massive pent-up demand. In fact, funny enough, we only had 2,300, 3,000 homes during a lot of the pandemic time, 2020 and 2021, which was catastrophically low, right? I've never in my 30-year career ever seen inventory that low ever, okay? Nor that long of a sustained period. Now, if we take a look at this, you can see that the number of homes available on the market are definitely down. And so, and again, we call it, these are the new listings coming on. So sellers are not coming on online, and we can see it there. Then when we take a look at this, you can see that translates into sales, because if you don't have a home that's available on the market, then you can't sell it. That's common sense, right? So you can't sell what's not available. Now, when we then take a look at the two side by side, you can see how the two mirror each other. And that is a super important stat to understand, because again, you're going to be getting a lot of information out there that sometimes maybe isn't as accurate as it should be, but nonetheless, it gives you a very clear indication of why we're seeing less sales. Part of that is because we have a massive, or what we call a detrimentally low inventory level, which, as you can see here, our graduated scale, as it shows from, average of the last 10 years going up, we've had steady growth. Okay. Not unexpected. It's not the whoop that you've seen in some of the charts that are out there, but definitely you can tell that we've had, the 2020, 2021, we all know there's no secret there that we saw some pretty significant increases, and in fact, some areas up to 33, 37%. Now, you can also see that we're starting to just crest just a little bit, and that cresting in June is because we've had a higher sustained interest rate closer to the sevens instead of in the low sixes, high fives, low sixes predominantly, albeit we've been heading down. Again, very normal, not unexpected. As you take a look at these things, it's super important. But notice the note down below. In fact, let me blow this up for you. All right. This is important. An average sales price is not the same as your home value. Okay. In other words, it is completely expected that as interest rates go up, that sales prices, average sales prices, actually go down. Why? Well, you only qualify for so much. And if the cost of funds keeps going up, what you're able to purchase has to come down. Okay. So if the cost of $100,000 before was about $500 per $100,000, and that cost is now $800 for that same $100,000, that's a disparity of $300. So you can either make that up by a rate buy down, putting more down payment, which in many times is not advantageous, or is not, the average new buyer out there can't do that. Not a negative. It's just reality. It is what it is. That means that what they are buying, instead of buying that $800 worth of house, they have to bump down to the $500. But that doesn't mean that the home value necessarily came down. There will be potentially other buyers, as we have proven that actually it is. There are other buyers that are capable or are able to although we will see a small adjustment down regardless. So don't confuse what home sale prices are compared to what a home value is, because this year, actually, funny enough, we should be seeing, as predicted, if you go back and you'll see this last year, we should see between a 4 and 5% appreciation by the time we've concluded 2023. And we are well on that path. I think we're like just right around 4% from our numbers, just on an average. So it gives you an idea. If we bump up, we're towards the end of July here. If we bump up just a little bit more, we're going to hit that. So we're good to go. Anyway, so remember to keep those two numbers separate so you understand how that works. Now, super important. Take a look at this. This is from Freddie Mac. All right. So, Global Newswire, right? When we take a look at what Sam Cater had to say at Freddie Mac's chief economist, it says, still the ongoing shortage of previously owned homes for sale has been a detriment to home buyers looking to take advantage of declining rates. Now, it goes on to say, home builders have an edge in today's market, and including data shows that home builder sentiment is continuing to rise. Now, I 100% agree with that, because normally the new construction industry has about a 10% interest in the overall inventory that is available at any one time. And they are definitely at the 19 to 21%, depending on area. And they are also what are propping up a lot of our sales right now. Even though our sales are down, new construction sales year over year, even though down just a tiny bit, even though interest rates have been higher, they actually are outperforming most of the other inventory levels out there as far as new homes coming on market, because they know with the fact that there are not existing sellers coming on market, they need to fill that void. And so therefore they are. Now, they're being ultra conservative. Okay. They're still seeing multiple offers. Their plats are still pre-selling, things like that. Many of our clients that in the last 30 days that have bought new construction, a few of them were multiple offers. Many of them, we were able to get a small concession. I shouldn't say small, $25,000 concession on one of them, where we were able to get additional upgrades, get some closing costs paid. Why? Builders, especially the big corporate builders, still have to report to shareholders. And so they need to keep that product point moving. They're being very aggressive with that, but not the craziness that a lot of people would expect, because they're maintaining plat values, which is what they need. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out and make sure that you're touching base with whomever you're working with, as long as they are very familiar with how to negotiate with builders to get you those really great credits and whatnot. Anyway, you can see here part pricing today on our Freddie Mac, as you can see, is 6.78%, which has come down. When it hits about 6.6%, that is normally when we see a massive influx of buyers coming in, because they look at that as a perception of a buy opportunity. So anything that is 6.6 and a downward trend, buyers definitely become a lot more aggressive out in the market. So if you like this report, you like the information, hey, remember, subscribe, like, and share. Tell us what you think. Keep asking questions. We try to answer all of the questions in our reports each week. And again, there's no selling, but this definitely helps people that are out there. In the meantime, stay safe. Have a great day. I'll see you on the next video. Hopefully this wind dies down so that so we can go fishing. In the meantime, take care.